Hi, my name is Noah Jackson, and this is my reflection on AI usage and how I believe AI affects my cultural reality slash identity. And so the first thing I want to say is that I really don't use AI very often. I try to stay away from it just because I've read a lot about the environmental damage that AI can cause. And overall, I think AI is kind of it feels like a lazy sort of tool. ChatGPT came out when I was a freshman in college, so I was like really one of the first groups of people that was like introduced to it. And while people were using it to like write essays and stuff, I always knew that as a journalism major, as someone who wants to be a lawyer, as someone who's written a lot, I've won awards for my writing in the past. I'm a better writer than ChatGPT. I'm a better writer than AI is. That's something that I've like known. And also just for the fact that I wanted to be a journalist, that I want to be a lawyer, I know I'm going to need to be able to use my own writing. So it never really made sense for me to go out and try to use a tool that is mimicking something that I already do well. Another thing that I want to say about AI and how it affects like cultural reality slash identity is that I think it like co-ops it in a very negative way. I think AI is not a perfect tool because it can't really synthesize information. It can't validify anything. It'll just, if you ask a ChatGPT or a Copilot a question, what it'll tell you is just what the internet says. It's just to tell you like what the top 5 websites that you looked it up, what they can tell you. And sometimes that is useful, and sometimes that can be helpful. But I think overall, ChatGPT is less reliable because I think it just doesn't understand the nuances of a lot of writing, or it doesn't really know how to synthesize what is true information. So if it reads something that is just wrong, then it'll repeat that. And that affects culture because I think a lot of cultures, if you just ask ChatGPT, like, oh, what is traditional Mexican culture, for instance, who knows what it'll tell you? And there's people who believe that and who will take what ChatGPT says for granted. And I think people are using it as this sort of like all knowing tool to harness information about all over the world, but reality, it's false. That's not what it does. So the digital divide and AI, I think, are commingled together quite a bit. And that's because AI, one thing that it's already been proven that it can do is replace jobs. It will be able to replace the jobs of people who do not have super professional training, who are likely lower income. It will replace the jobs of people who do a lot of grunt work in a lot of industries. And that will 100%, those layoffs will be affected through segregation, through racial lines. It's the case as it has been with every single sort of economic misstep in American history, that when Americans are fired, by and large, those Americans are black, or disproportionately, those Americans are black. When there are recessions, they hit worse for black communities. And I think AI, in the way that it will sort of change the workforce and change the type of hiring practices that these companies use, I think that will 100% affect black people and affect people who are negatively affected by the digital divide more than any other people.